According to a recent survey, 93% of home buyers that have bought a home in 2023 regret buying their home. That's a very scary statistic, and I've definitely seen people who've regretted their recent home purchase. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 6 home buyer regrets, and I'll give you tips on how you can avoid each of these regrets. The first regret is my home requires too much maintenance. When you buy a home, especially if it's your first time buying a home, I think a lot of times we think about all the grand plans that we have for our home, the different things that we're going to do to update the home, decorate the home, and how we're going to create memories in the home, and all of these fun things. But I think sometimes we forget that owning a home is a lot of work, and there's a lot of maintenance involved. There's the usual maintenance that you would think of, cleaning the home, mowing the lawn, things like that. And then there are some things you don't think of, like changing the O-rings on your faucets, cleaning the gutters, replacing your dryer vent hose, and other random tasks. Another thing that I see happen with homeowners is they end up buying a home that has a lot of issues and there's more maintenance items than they're able to handle. The way you can avoid this problem comes down to doing a thorough walkthrough of the home when you first see the home and a thorough inspection. So this is what this looks like. When I'm with a client and we're looking at a home, I let them kind of do their thing. I let them walk around, start to think about those moments that they're going to create in the home, think about decorating, all that. And then what I'm doing is I'm looking at the home and assessing what the current state of it is. That's why it's good to partner with a real estate agent that you can trust and is thorough and can point out different issues with the home. If you need help finding a real estate agent, I can help you. The link is in the description. The sooner you can find out that there are issues with the home, the better. When I'm touring the home, I'm looking at the ceiling, I'm looking for any stains on the ceilings, any cracks on the ceilings or walls that could indicate foundation issues. I'm looking at the AC, water heater, and other major appliances to see how old they are. Usually there's a label that you can see how old the different major appliances are. I also look under the sinks to see if there are any current or past leaks. I'm also trying to tell what kind of plumbing they have, if it's older plumbing. And then when I'm outside touring the home, I'm looking to see if there's any wood rot on the home. Sometimes you'll see that near the exterior doors and the windows. I'm looking to see if the roof looks older or damaged in any way. Are the shingles coming up? Are there any trees that are near the home that are older and maybe the limbs are falling and there's a concern that if there's a big storm or something like that, that the tree could fall on the roof? I'm also looking to see if there's a lot of insect activity, things like that. There are issues that can really cost a lot of money down the road. And even if you decide to take care of some of the stuff yourself, it's very time consuming and can be overwhelming. Now, the next step is getting a thorough inspection done. When you go under contract on a home, typically you get an inspection on the home. You'll hire an inspector and they note any issues that they see. Now, something to know is an inspector only can see what they can see, right? They're not going to go into the drywall to see what all the wiring looks like and all that kind of stuff. They're just inspecting what they're able to see. And of course, there are homes that have a lot of furniture and things like that. It's hard to do a 100% thorough inspection in those cases. But what you're trying to find out is if there are any major issues with the home or anything that might come up in the near future. When you get an inspection on the home, typically you have different inspections you're able to get. There's your standard inspection that costs a few $100s. Then you can get additional inspections on top of that, which can be pretty expensive. But I do recommend my clients do a thorough inspection as much as they can. Spending some extra money up front might save you from getting into a home that requires a lot of maintenance. Another regret is I bought too quickly. And I think this is something that we're seeing more and more of because of how the housing market is right now. In a lot of markets, it's very competitive, even now, where there's multiple offers. And I think sometimes home buyers have a scarcity mindset and they're concerned that there's not going to be any homes left. And so they buy as quickly as possible. I think when that happens after someone buys a home and they move into it, they start to nitpick certain aspects of the home. Maybe they didn't really thoroughly research the neighborhood they moved into, or they overlook some issues with the home because they really just wanted to buy a home as quickly as possible. And I understand buying a home can be fun, but it's also very stressful, and sometimes we just want the home buying process to be done as soon as possible. Buying a home is one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive thing you'll ever buy, so taking your time, doing your due diligence really makes sense so you don't regret your purchase later. Another regret is I spent too much money, which of course we're seeing more and more of now with the housing prices still increasing in a lot of markets. With homes inflating as much as they have within the past few years, people end up spending more than they initially thought they would. That's why it's really important when you go to buy a house that you have a firm budget that you've come up with and you're comfortable with. This is what I mean. When you get approved for a loan, typically the loan officer gives you the max amount of money you're able to spend. The buyers will go to their agent and say, okay, I've been approved for $300,000. I want to see homes that are $300,000. But what some buyers don't realize, and maybe the loan officer and the real estate agent haven't explained to them, is that $300,000 or whatever it is your max amount you're able to spend. It's not really what you should actually spend on a home. When you get approved for your loan, I think the best way to figure out if that amount of money that you're approved for makes sense to spend is, what does your monthly mortgage look like? That will give you a better idea of what you're comfortable spending. A couple of things that you have to realize is that there are some variables there. Some things that will make it hard for the loan officer to correctly give you your monthly payment is the property taxes and how much home insurance will be, because depending on where you're buying a home, property taxes can be different from city to city and county to county, and depending on the condition of the home, the age of the home, things like that will affect how much your home insurance is. There are also other factors like the community is in an HOA and things like that, but regardless, if you can at least get an estimate of how much your monthly payment is, that'll make you feel more comfortable that you're buying a home within your budget and you're not going to overspend. Another regret is my interest rate was too high, which is something that's very common now because if you think about it, interest rates peaked at over 8% and it's currently, as of this recording, around 7.25%, which is a huge difference from a couple years ago. If you're not familiar, the reason why getting a low interest rate is so important is because the lower the interest rate, the lower your monthly payment will be. And even though the difference between 4% to 6% or something like that doesn't sound like it's a huge difference, but when you're thinking about paying this for 30 years, it can be thousands upon thousands of dollars. And really, when you get down to the monthly payment, the difference between a 3% and a 7% interest rate can be very significant. I think just a few years ago, a $600,000 home's monthly payment is now equal to a $400,000 home's monthly payment. Now, of course, people who do feel like they have a high interest rate, they can always refinance. But I think that was a tricky thing that happened about a year ago where the assumption was that interest rates were going to go down. And so people were getting into these different programs like a 2-1 buy down and things like that. If you're not familiar with that, you kind of have like an introductory rate of a lower interest rate. And then after a couple of years, the interest rate goes to the agreed upon rate, which is typically high. So lenders and real estate agents were telling you, hey, get this 2-1 buy down. Your interest rate's going to be 4% or whatever. And then before it goes to the full interest rate in a couple of years of like 7%, whatever it is, just refinance when the interest rates are lower. But we haven't seen those huge interest rate cuts. I think that's probably another reason that people believe the interest rates are too high. So what can you do? Well, there's a number of strategies you can look into. One is buying new construction homes. Right now, new construction homes, and when I say new construction homes, I'm talking about communities that are being built, not just like a one-off new construction home where you buy the land and build a home on top of it. Some new construction community homes are offering low interest rates, and the reason that they can do that is because they'll ask you to go through their preferred lender, which is typically a company they own or have some sort of business relationship with, and that's why they can offer interest rates that are lower than if you went to a regular bank or lender. Another option is buying down the rate. And when I say buying down the rate, the hope is that the seller will buy down the interest rate for you. Now, this isn't going to work in every market and every situation, but the way this could work is, let's say there's a home that's been on the market for a while, or you happen to be in an area where homes sit on the market. A seller might be open to buying down your rate, which will in turn make your monthly payment lower. Another regret is I bought a fixer-upper. Sometimes people buy a fixer-upper because they think that the home is going to be less expensive and then you're going to live in the home for a long time and you can fix it up as you go, which isn't a bad plan. However, I've seen clients who have really big ideas and maybe their expertise and the amount of money that they have to spend don't match what will need to be done on the house. So this is what I mean. Sometimes buyers think, hey, I can just do that myself, or I have a family member or close friend that will help me fix up the house. And sometimes you either get too busy or what you thought you could do on your own you can't. Or the family or friend who said they would help you never helps you fix up the house. And also, sometimes as you're fixing up the house, you start to find other things that are wrong with the home, and it gets to be very expensive and overwhelming. When you're looking at fixer-uppers, what you want is the bones of the home and the major systems of the home to be in good condition. So what that means is maybe the roof isn't super old, you don't have old and outdated wiring or plumbing, the AC may only be a few years old, things like that. But the aesthetics of the home are outdated. I call these homes family homes. These are homes that someone has lived in for a very long time. They've raised their children in the homes, they've taken good care of the home, but they just haven't updated the home, and it still looks like it's from the 1980s or whatever. I think this kind of home is the perfect fixer-upper because all the bones of the home and the major systems of the home have been cared for and maintained. It's just not the most aesthetically pleasing. So then what you can do is you start to tackle those projects room by room throughout the years. It'll be a long process, but once it's done, it can be very rewarding. Another regret is I was pressured to make an offer. And again, this is something that I've definitely seen within the past couple of years, and I think it comes down to the idea of scarcity. There's not a lot of homes on the market, and let's be real, there are times that real estate agents will put pressure on buyers to make an offer. So you can be in a tough spot when you feel pressure to put in an offer, but ultimately what you need to do is take some time before putting in an offer, really think about, is this the best home for you? Does this make the most sense? And I know this is difficult to do because sometimes there will be multiple offers on the table. There's highest and best that's been called, which means that the seller wants your highest and best offer in a certain amount of time. So there can be a lot of pressure to get in an offer. What I would suggest is if you're in a market where there's a lot of competition, try to see the home as soon as possible. By seeing the home as soon as it gets on the market, then in theory, you might have a little bit more time to figure out if you want to make an offer and what you want your offer to be. Also, do not feel pressure from a real estate agent or anyone else. This is your decision. You're the person that's going to be making these monthly payments for 15, 30 years, whatever it ends up being. Buying a home is a huge commitment, and you don't want to jump into a situation where you're going to regret your decision to buy a home. By doing research and making an informed decision, you can be confident that you're buying a home that's the best fit for you. Will home prices go down? Check out this video to find out, or this video about how you can buy a home with zero money down. Thanks for watching to the end, especially if you're a subscriber.